If we were talking about slow-paced decks in Genius Invocation TCG, the Geo deck centered around Itto is definitely a noteworthy option. In a match during the Prince Cup SEA, player Rev's Itto defeated all of his opponent's characters with a total damage of 48 points. Even when his other two characters were knocked out, Itto's health remained at 10 until the end of the match. Similar situations often occurred in other tournaments as well. Now, let's explore the formidable strength of the Geo Itto deck. Deck Introduction. Before version 4.1, the Geo Itto deck typically consisted of Barbara, Arataki Itto, and Noelle. This combination is often referred to as Bin. Barbara's elemental skill not only provides continuous healing, but can also remove elemental effects when used strategically. Her elemental burst is particularly useful in critical moments to restore the entire team's health to a healthy state. In version 4.1, a new combination called Din emerged, which replaces Barbara with Dia. Dia's elemental skill enhances the survivability of the active teammates. Noelle serves as the team's secondary damage dealer and can generate shields to buy time in the early game. If Itto is unexpectedly knocked out, Noelle can also take his place as the damage dealer. Itto is the team's primary damage dealer. With his elemental burst and passive ability, he can deal the highest damage with the fewest dice. Battle Strategy. To effectively play the Itto deck, it is essential to understand the superlative super strength mechanic. When Itto uses elemental skill or the shield generated by Ushi is consumed, Itto gains a passive stack. When Itto uses a charged attack, it consumes a stack to increase the damage of that charged attack. If Itto has 2 or more passive stacks, the cost of his charged attacks is reduced. Furthermore, during Itto's elemental burst, each normal attack adds a passive stack. Unlike other decks, the Itto deck doesn't rely on specific strategies. Its core gameplay revolves around accumulating resources in the early game and unleashing Itto's damage after the opponent's burst phase or when crucial equipment is obtained. During the early game, Itto focuses on accumulating energy and passive stacks. Equipping support cards can help prepare for a later burst. On the turn when Itto is fully charged with energy, it is suggested to deplete the opponent's dice by switching characters. Once the opponent's dice are limited, it's Itto's showtime. If the Bell and Tenacity of the Millilith are obtained early on, Itto can be brought into action to deal damage. However, be careful with the opponent's burst skills.
Step aside, Itto's back in town.
The Bell paired with Elemental Resonance Enduring Rock can generate shields to block a significant amount of damage. How to counter? Although Itto is incredibly strong in the late game, in the early game, his damage and survivability are limited without equipment. The most common strategy to counter him is to disrupt Itto's development by quickly knocking out the opponent's characters with high-intensity damage, preventing him from safely building up his resources while on standby. Another strategy is to chip away at Itto's health as much as possible before he takes action. Utilizing AoE damage through elemental reactions like Electrocharged and Swirl can be effective. In the late game, using burst methods like energy recharge cards can deliver a decisive blow to defeat Itto in one hit. Decks that rely on summons damage can make it difficult for Itto to trigger the Tenacity of the Millilith and accumulate his passive stacks quickly. The Nahida Electrocharge deck, which was introduced in the previous episode, is a major nemesis for Itto decks. That wraps up the content for this episode. For more professional deck introductions, make sure to follow our channel for the latest updates. See you on the next episode.